I'm Diane Lassus, and in this module, I'll be talking about protecting your financial information. Our world's filled with cell phones, iPads, watches, computers, and everything electronic. And much of our lives are spent online. We live in this digital world, and safeguarding financial information is so important to prevent identity theft, fraud, and even financial loss. In order to protect against these risks, we have to understand them and implement protective measures. In this presentation, I'm going to cover some of the best practices for protecting your financial information and reducing your exposure to cyber threats. Financial information is a very broad area, and it includes any information related to our finances. Bank account details, brokerage accounts, credit and debit cards, social security numbers, tax records, loan statements, and basically anything related to our finances. And how can we protect against them? Identity theft is at the top of the list. Identity theft occurs when someone steals your information and literally impersonates you in order to get credit card information, to open new accounts, to do all of those things to steal from you. I've seen individuals purchase a car in someone else's name and even literally take over the person's identity. In one case, it took the person who had his identity stolen 2 years to get it back. It is truly unauthorized use of personal information to commit fraud, but it can be difficult to fix it if it occurs. And as I stated before, it can take years to clear your credit. There are many ways that people attempt to steal information to commit fraud. The first one I'll cover occurs at the company level, and we don't have a lot of control over that. This is where someone hacks into a company or government entity's system and gains access to personal information for a lot of their customers. Companies are required to notify us if they've suffered this type of breach of their systems. And we've seen a lot of announcements in recent years. We've also seen the development of companies providing monitoring and protection services because there have been so many of these issues. So we've seen LifeLock and NerdWallet and a bunch of others become very popular. When information is stolen, it's typically sold. Sometimes credit card information is stolen, and it may take a while before it pops up with somebody using your information. Credit card companies are a lot more sensitive to this issue today and monitor accounts more closely. I once had information stolen and used in Moscow. Even though the fraud was identified, it still took a long time to get all the fees and other costs reimbursed. Other ways to scam someone are through phone and social engineering scams, where crooks impersonate legitimate entities to steal your financial information. Here are a few ways to look out for. There are a lot of different types of cyber attacks that basically trick you into revealing information or performing actions that compromise your security. It's often accomplished through deceptive phone calls, emails, or even text messages, which have become very popular. These attacks exploit human trust and vulnerabilities rather than technical weaknesses. There are a few of these schemes starting with phishing as in phishing, and that involves deceptive emails, text messages, or even phone calls to trick you into revealing personal information like passwords, credit card details, or social security numbers. Attackers often impersonate legitimate organizations or individuals to build trust or create a sense of urgency or fear. Examples include fake emails claiming to be a bank or a tech company, asking users to verify their information. Scammers also use voice phishing or vishing. This is a type of phishing that uses phone calls to trick victims. Attackers impersonate companies such as banks or government agencies. An example is a robocall that claim to be from the IRS or a credit card company and ask for personal information to resolve a problem. They use the fact that many people fear the IRS, so that was a very popular one a year or so ago. One of the most popular recently is the SMS phishing or smishing using text messages. So the attacker sends text messages that contain malicious links or prompts to trick users into revealing personal information or downloading malware. An example is when text messages claiming to be a package delivery service, asking users to click a link or reroute or a delivery or verify their account. Another recent example is a text that says, you have tolls due from one of the toll roads and threatens you if you don't pay them. Another one that's very similar is called baiting. And that's where they promise you a gift or something to trick you into clicking on a malicious link or downloading malware. Tailgating is another one but it involves, this is a physical access type of thing. Tailgating involves gaining access to a secure area by following someone who's authorized to enter. Attackers may follow an employee into a restricted area, like in an apartment complex or in an office building. The last one I'm going to talk about is scareware. And this involves using false alarms and alerts to scare people into taking action, often involving downloading this malware. So the attacker creates a fake pop-up window or email that claims that you have a really serious virus on your computer and your whole computer is infected and the only way you can fix it is to download their fake antivirus program. An example of this would be a fake pop-up and the window says, your computer is infected with the virus and here's your solution. And if you click on that solution, it's actually malware and it creates more problems than you really want to deal with. The best way to protect yourself from many of these threats is to always be suspicious of unsolicited emails, phone calls, or text messages. Don't click on suspicious links or open attachments from unknown senders. Verify information. If you get a text or an email or a phone call and you're not sure if it's legitimate or not, ignore them and go direct to the vendor, to your bank or to your online account and verify it there. Use strong, unique passwords. Don't use the same password for multiple accounts, even though it is so much simpler to do that. And make sure your passwords are difficult to guess. Create complex passwords with a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols. And enable multi-factor authentication for banking and financial accounts, and even some of your other accounts if you really want to protect them. And use a password manager like RoboForm. There are a lot of different versions out there where you can store and manage all your credentials securely. And you only need one really secure password that you have to remember in order to get into it. Make sure your devices and internet connections are secure. Keep operating systems and software up to date on computers and other devices. And use antivirus and anti-malware software. Also, avoid public Wi-Fi for financial transactions. There are people that just sit out there on those Wi-Fi systems and wait for an account they can log into or hack into. And it's important to monitor your financial accounts. Check your bank and credit card statements every month for unauthorized transactions. Set up alerts for any kind of unusual activity. Obtain free credit reports from the following three agencies: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And I can tell you they make errors and they don't always match, and it's a really good thing to pay attention to. Be very cautious with sharing your personal information. I had a client who had emailed a wire transfer form, and we always say never email personal information because it can be hijacked. In this case, her email was hijacked, and the hijacker copied her wire transfer form, which had her signature on it, and attempted to move money out of her account. We were able to stop it, but the reality is they could very easily have succeeded in stealing those funds. And once they're out of the account, it's very hard to get them back. So you always want to be very careful with things like that. I can't repeat this often enough. Avoid clicking on suspicious links in emails or any kind of text message or social media. Sometimes we just don't think before we hit the button, and the price can be very high. Verify the legitimacy of financial institutions before providing information. If you think your information has been compromised, here are some steps to take. Immediately report any kind of unauthorized transactions to your bank or credit card provider. Freeze or lock your credit reports. Prevent fraudsters from opening accounts in your name. New accounts typically verify your credit through the credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. If your account's locked, they cannot verify your credit and normally would not approve opening a new account. Change your passwords and update credentials for all affected accounts. Report to the authorities. Notify the Federal Trade Commission and local law enforcement. Protecting financial information is so important to prevent fraud and maintain your financial security. By following best practices such as strong passwords, monitoring your accounts, and paying attention to make sure you're not helping the scammers, individuals can better safeguard their financial assets. Staying informed and proactive is the key to minimizing risk in today's digital age. And don't forget to check out the infographic guide to personal finance, pages 34 and 35. There's also a section on identity theft on page 78. Thanks, and see you in the next module.